What was the most badass escape you've ever made? I'll start. NSW. One of my greatest college moments was a lucky escape. I was having a really crappy day and was waiting for the city bus after a rough day of classes. I just wanted to get home, get my buzz on and game a little bit. I was waiting for the bus on a one-way street. Before the bus got there, an SUV with 3 frat guys had pulled up and they had their window down and were making fun some guy at the bus stop. It's been 8 years maybe, so I can't remember exactly what they were saying to him, but I think he was foreign, possibly an exchange student, but they were blowing this guy a whole lot of crap. As I mentioned, I was already having a bad day, and these guys caught me at the wrong time or something. I'm not confrontational, and I've never been in a fight in my life, but at this moment I was heated. So the light turns green and the guy riding shotgun is hanging out the window and talking crap as they drive away. In a moment of blind rage, I picked up their nearest thing to me, which ended up being a half-drank Starbucks coffee from that morning or something, and sidearmed this thing right at this car. And wouldn't you know it, it was a direct hit on this guy as they are driving away. At some point the lid came off the coffee. I'm not sure if it was before it hit him or afterwards, but this cold coffee ended up splashing all inside the moving vehicle as they were turning left through this light. I can only hope it sprayed the other Doucher bags in there as well. If it was CS, it would have been a heck of an aid toss. Everyone else waiting for the bus cheered me. The car kept going and hung another left, I could tell, and I assumed was going to circle the block and come back after me. I was like, well frick it, it's on now. Hopefully someone at this bus stop gets my back, but let's do this. Just then, not one, but 2 city buses pull up at the exact same time. 2 different routes. This happened occasionally, but was pretty rare from my experiences waiting there. But that day my luck had finally changed. I hop on the one that will take me home and make my escape. As we pull away, I look out the window and see the car I had hit driving frantically and following the other bus that was going a different direction. I can only hope that they followed that thing for every stop it had waiting for me to get off and wasted another couple hours of their time. It was truly one of the greatest moments of my life. One night, we had firecrackers. A lot of firecrackers. Around 4 AM, we decide to go to the local elementary school and light them off. We're going crazy, having so much fun with it, when my friend remarks, "You know, this kind of sounds like we're shooting guns." At that moment, a police cruiser pulls into the parking lot. He flashes his lights once. We all bolt. We start running through the field and over fences. I look over the fence and notice that there were 3 cop cars stopped. They seem to be talking to each other. 2 of them leave with lights flashing, and 2 officers get out of the other one and start bolting towards us. We run fast. We figure the cops will head towards the road, so we run parallel hopping fences until we can go away from it. At one point, the cops were gaining, so we split up. 1 cop followed each group. I headed towards a large park. Suddenly, I hear growling. The biggest freaking dog ever. It's looking at me. It's angry. I freeze up and the cop catches up to me. He's coming towards me when I say, "Dude, no, there is a pit bull right there, and it is not happy. I'll come with you. Just don't make any sudden movements." We begin to back away. Slowly, the cop motions me towards a gate. I go first, and he stands guard. As soon as I'm out that gate, I bolt again. I felt bad, but the cop was not going to catch me. There was no way he could move fast enough to not pee off that dog. I got away. The cop was really mad. I could hear him lumbering around while I hid in some trees swearing. Around 15 minutes later, he finds out that some of my friends are cornered and goes to help them out. One friend got caught and charged with a misdemeanor. He ratted no one out. Good times. Back when I was 19, I went to Disney with my family. I am the youngest of 4 children and all of my siblings and their sons were of age. So my brothers and sister decide to take me to downtown Disney one night in the hopes I can party with them. One of my brothers pulled a sneak the under the table when our waiter at some restaurant was checking ages. It worked, though I don't think we fooled him. I think he just gave me a break. Here I am 19 in downtown Disney with the will to drink as much as I want in this particular bar. So naturally we start hammering car bombs. I am plastered within the hour and my siblings and I end up at this club with a revolving dance floor. My sister-in-law decided that she did not want to drink anymore, so she took off her bracelet and hacked it onto my wrist, which worked, and I was getting served at the revolving floor club. Next thing I know, I am dancing with the hottest girl in the place. I am a bit of a nerd, so this is pretty new to me at the time. We are dancing away. I have a drink in my hand when I feel this strong grasp on my shoulder. Disney police. May have been a security guard, I have no idea. To this day I was trashed. My hacked bracelet had fallen off and this guy is asking for my ID. I tell him I don't have it on me and he said I had to go with him to the Disney police station. I don't know where this came from, but the following words came out of my mouth: led the way. The cop guard took my words too seriously and led the way. I immediately did a 180 while ripping off my hat and shirt. I had an undershirt on and stuffed them in my pants for a quick disguise. You know that song where everyone gets in a line and the singer is going to the left, right step now? Well, that song is playing and the whole club is dancing in tune to it while I am moving my way through the crowd on a revolving floor while a crap ton of security guards, police officers are looking for me. This goes on for a couple minutes before one of my brothers finally finds me and helps me to a side exit. I told him to hold on and I merged back into the line dance to score the hot girl's number. I escaped with the number and 7 years later her and I are still together. My uncle was on the 91st floor of the South WTC Tower. Felt and saw a plane freaking crash into the North Tower. He and the two people he was with got the heck out of there as fast as they could. He was about half a block away when the second plane hit. I'd say that's probably better than any escape I've personally experienced. So I was at a college football game visiting my sibling as a teenager. I was drinking quite a bit since this was a college that had excellent tailgating. Also, I had brought a bag of weed with me. I don't know why I brought a bag of weed with me besides the fact that I was smoking with friends before tailgating. Anyways, my sister was able to find me a student ID so that I could sit with her and my friends, who attended the same college, in the student section. After drinking quite a bit, I stumbled to the entrance to the stadium and sat in line to get in. At the front of the line, the security was searching people for hidden flasks because the stadium sold beer and clearly the college wanted to make money. I, as the drunk Eunjin I was, forgot about the weed in my pocket. The security, unfortunately, found it. So there I was, caught by security, being dragged up to the police table. The cop at the table called for a squad car to come pick me up. At that time, I felt like a trapped animal, sweat and anxiety rushing over me. The security guy, on orders from the cop, pushed me over to the street to wait for the squad car. However, the street was so packed that the squad car would most likely be a couple of minutes. As we stood next to the barricades, a recent mother was attempting to push her stroller through the divide. I, in my drunk mind, decided this was it. I leaned back against the hand of the security guard to make room for the mother and he, luckily, responded to my movement by also moving back. As soon as she made it through the barricade, I jumped the divide and ran faster than I had ever run. I sprinted through the crowd, weaving between other drunk fans, hearing their remarks as I passed, knowing that the security guard was behind me but losing distance. I made it through the first rough patch, ripped off my sweatshirt, and continued. I slowed as the alcohol began to take its toll on my endurance but was cheered on by a couple of drunk guys who yelled, "You can do better than that," encouraged. I picked up speed, rounded a corner, and dove between some parked cars, waiting to see if the security guard had made the distance. Luckily, he did not. After a couple of minutes, I stood up, shaking like heck, and walked across the street off campus. I then proceeded to violently throw up what seemed like the past couple days of food behind an apartment building. Back when I was in high school, I was dating this girl. We'd go back to her house after school and have some fun together quite often. The house is a 2-story house with a door to the front driveway down in the basement hangout area, and a front door about 5 feet to the side and 5 feet higher. Middle of the 2 floors, away from the basement door. We're down in the basement having fun, and her mom comes home. Well, actually, there's a window and we see her shadow walk by. Crap tacos. so I scramble to get ready while her mom is fumbling with the keys to the house. I put my hand on the basement doorknob and wait for her mom to start opening the front door. The doors are visible to each other and both make a lot of noise. I had to time this perfectly. I time it and perfectly open the basement door as the front door opens. Her mom is opening the door and walking in and doesn't notice the other door open as I exit. I then closed it when she closed it. I hid behind her car in the driveway for about 5 minutes and then came back up to the front door as if I was just arriving. I have that memory burned into the back of my mind. It was executed perfectly. I knew a Catholic priest who had escaped the invasion of Poland during World War II. According to his story, the Nazis had prepared a boat and had told the priests and followers of the area that they could voluntarily flee the country on that boat. His instinct told him it was a trap, so he stayed back and later watched as the boat sailed away and exploded in the distance, or was set on fire. I don't remember. He knew it was only a matter of time until he was persecuted, and somehow through the chaos he grouped up with a photographer fellow who knew of a group planning an escape at nightfall. So they threw themselves into a pit of dead bodies, playing dead until it was dark, and so made their escape. My escape wasn't really badass, just bad. Back in high school I was casually seeing this girl who lived with her ridiculously overprotective dad. He demanded that she was not to date, let alone sleep with any boys until she was 18. She was 16 at the time. This wasn't much of a problem as my parents were cool, so she would come over to my house and tell her dad she was going somewhere else. Anyway, he goes away one weekend on a fishing trip, so we decided to take advantage of this opportunity and spend Saturday night at her house. We had just begun our adventures when her dad returns home a day early, bad weather or something, and starts heading for her room where we are both naked. So I panic, quickly grab my clothes and think to attempt an ambitious Superman leap out of her window followed by a commando roll on the grass below. Only problem was I didn't realize that her window was shut. My head shatters the glass and I get stuck halfway. Trying to free myself I do a 180, with the glass digging into my stomach and back making scars I have to this very day. My back was arched against the window frame, and I try and wiggle my way out of the glassy death trap head first. Her dad then opens the door to the sight of my legs flailing about trying to free myself, my balls flapping against my thighs and my erection pointing for the sky, which somehow hadn't faded despite all the blood loss. I managed to free myself, get dressed and run home, before mum took me to the hospital. I tore my ACL and meniscus in high school, and with my freshly ruined knee and a full leg immobilizer, went to the craziest party of my life. I got wrecked and decided to stumble home but unknowingly exited the house via a side door, not the front door. This side door had 2 additional steps that I was totally unprepared for. Basically I ate crap down the steps, and my drunk ass ended up face down in the yard. Well, because my leg was locked straight from my hip to my ankle, and because I was OD high and drunk off me mug, I couldn't get up. I dragged myself through the yard to a low-hanging tree branch and hoisted myself standing. As soon as I got vertical, I was blasted with the cop's car-mounted spotlight thingy. Alright young man, party's over. Stay where you are. I gave them my most practiced, hardened EGAF face, and took off running down the street. I hopped 3 fences and ran just over 2 miles with an incredibly injured knee. Freaking thing has never been the same since, and never will fully heal. But I'll be goddamned if I'm not remembered as White Lightning forevermore. Last night my girlfriend's mom walked in on us literally 5 seconds after we put our pants back on. Good thing I don't last for more than like 30 seconds, otherwise it would have been a disaster. So as an 18-year-old college student, I rely on my handy fake kid to buy liquor for myself and my friends. The usual store is a Ralph's located conveniently close to campus. I'll admit that I always get a bit nervous buying at a new store, but I had purchased at Ralph's a few times and so this night was unremarkable. As usual, I smiled demurely at the guard in the liquor aisle, picked up a handle of tequila, and headed towards the register where I was shunted away from the young, stoner cashier and towards a severe-looking, far older Latina lady. When asked to present my ID, I did so without hesitation as both time and experience has proved it to be credible both to the eye and to scanning and black lights. Being the older, distrustful clerk in a college town, she went to go scan it, taking unusually long. When she returned, she informed me that she knew it was a fake and I had one chance to take it and go without question. I am not usually overwhelmingly ballsy, nor do I usually use the phrase YOLO, but I refused to simply leave. I demanded she scan it again and asked for the manager. She looked utterly skeptical but called over a manager, and once again they retreated to scan my ID together. This time I was informed by the manager to simply take my card and go. Now at this point, I was in too deep. The people behind me had been very understanding up until now, and I could not stand the thought of being escorted out of the most commonly used store in my college town in front of so many people. So I went for broke. I demanded to see the card being scanned. Exasperated, the manager led me over and showed me that under the black light, the California state seals were not shining. He proceeded to pull out his own and showed me how his were repeated 3 times, brightly, across the length of his ID. But here was my chance. I asked him when he had gotten his license last renewed, to which he replied, "I don't know, a long time ago." I guess I informed him that on the newest design of IDs the seals were far fainter than they had previously been. Utter BS. And then, quite frankly the most stupid moment of my life, I asked the police officer standing next to us to verify that, in fact, the new licenses had fainter holograms and that my ID was real. And remarkably, incredibly, he did. He looked it over and told the manager it was legitimate and to stop giving me such a hard time. I was escorted back to the register, manager apologizing. He gave me a $5 discount. At the end of my stint as a used bookstore lackey at one of the worst stores in the world, I realized that I had been drawing dongs in books with a Sharpie for months with no repercussions. Turns out, right when I quit, a goddamn avalanche of customers started coming in complaining about finding magic marker dongs in their reading material. Freshman year of college, me and 4 friends used to always talk about stealing parking gates around campus. Cars used to drive through them during the day, knocking them down. So there was always 1 or 2 lying around for the taking. Of course, being freshmen, this was mostly talk that didn't amount to much. One night, however, when we all had drank enough liquid courage, we decided that that was the night we would actually get them. So we get all dressed in black and head out the door, only to find that the campus authorities had already replaced all the broken ones from earlier in the day. Did we quit and go home? Nope, we started breaking the dang things off. Feeling the rush of that first parking gate, we all get jazzed up for some more and throw the gate into some bushes to pick up later. We just start running buck wild around campus, knocking these things down and hiding them in the bushes. Being very drunk, it takes us a while to realize that nearly every corner we turn there seems to be police officers. And it takes even longer to realize that they seem to be after us. At this point we scatter, and everywhere I turn I'm passing police officers. I even talk to one at one point who asks if I've seen a group of kids knocking down parking gates. Why heavens no, officer, I have not. Somehow none of them seriously turned their attention on me or any of my scattered comrades. One by one we all meet back up behind the student center to gauge the situation. We look around and realize that despite being chased by the police, we all took the time to go back to the bushes and retrieve the parking gates. We have 4 of these bad boys amongst the 5 of us. Turning back home, there is 1 more police car between us and freedom, and our 5th and final parking gate we had knocked down. Swear to God, we pulled some cartoon crap and casually walked past the police car, about 40 yards away, with the parking gates perpendicular to our bodies, and they didn't notice. We grab the last parking gate and run through some bushes to make it to the back entrance to our dorm. That's not the end though. The next morning we hear from some of the other kids on our floor that were participating in a large hack on the dome in the center of campus that we were all over the police scanners they used to monitor the hacks. Apparently they didn't need to worry about anything that night because all of campus police were focused on 5 idiots knocking down traffic gates. They also heard that they were extremely close to nabbing us several times but couldn't seem to catch us. To this day I have no idea how we escaped. A part of me assumes they must have felt some sort of pity for 5 drunken buffoons zigzagging across campus carrying 10-foot parking gates around. You have been visited by the Be Humble, Be Stay Humble and Believe in Yourself. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.